new technologies, they're fundamentally redesigning work, empowering their workforce, and they're achieving unprecedented gains in productivity and efficiency. This session, led by Rebecca Warren, Director of Talent-Centered Transformation at Eightfold AI, and Kathy Enderis, the SVP of Research and Global Industry Analyst at the Josh Bersin Company, will give you a deep dive into the strategies of these high-performing organizations. So Rebecca, Kathy, welcome. Glad you're here. Please take it away.
All right. Thanks, Steve. So, Kathy, I'm not sure about our deep dive in 20 minutes. We're going to have to talk really, really fast. But I think we can do it. We can probably cover quite a bit of ground. So,
exactly.
Oh, well, so good to see you today. Really excited for us to talk about the Pacesetters report and the research that you're all doing. You and I have had several conversations about how amazing this research is and how it helps us think more broadly. So before we jump in, do you just want to do a quick little introduction of yourself for the rest of the group?
Sure. Yeah, happy to. And I'm really thrilled to join you here, Rebecca, and thanks for having me. So Kathy Andres, SVP Research and Global Industry Analyst at the Josh Bersin Company. If you don't know who we are a research and advisory company for the HR profession. And so we work with a lot of corporate HR teams, but then also a lot of technology vendors like Eightfold, for example, all with a focus on moving HR into this new world where we can make a bigger impact and make work better and more meaningful and get better business outcomes on that. So I'm really thrilled to talk about what we saw here with our Pacesetters research, because it's part of our big global workforce intelligence project that we're working together with Eightfold on for the last 4 or 5 years. So we're diving deep into many different industries to understand what are the skills, what are the roles, and what are the career pathways and organizational solutions, industry by industry, in this new world.
All right. So, Rebecca Warren, I'm at Eightfold. I am part of our talent-centered transformation practice, where we spend time thinking about the lens of people as opposed to the lens of jobs. And so, Kathy, we've had a chance to work together on a couple of things, so let's dive in. So before we talk about the most recent Pacesetters report, let's chat a little bit. I love this research that you did through the Global Workforce Intelligence Project. So will you talk a little bit about that for folks who may not be familiar, and then we'll dive into the Pacesetter information.
For sure. Yeah. So we started the Global Workforce Intelligence Project 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago, actually exactly 4 years ago, working with all the data that Eightfold has to understand industry by industry, what are the skills that are rising, what are the skills that are declining in need, what are the new jobs and roles that are getting more important and less important, and what organizational solutions can companies deploy in order to make all of this happen. So we are tapping into the data of Eightfold on each of these industries, and we covered healthcare, we covered pharmaceutical, we covered consumer banking, automotive manufacturing, insurance, so lots of different consumer packaged goods, CPG, so lots of different industries. And we wanted to see, actually based on the data, so not just based on interviewing leaders in these industries, but based on the data, what's happening in those industries, how are they changing, and how does this change actually what skills and roles we need to support in HR and in talent. So it's been fascinating because we get really deeper into the business problems and how these industries are changing, which is, I know every HR person is looked to get closer to the business and really understand how the business operates. So it's been great.
Well, as you know, you look through the data in there, and I know folks can go to your website and download the report. So when you look at it, every single industry is changing, right? It doesn't matter what industry it is. AI has affected every single one. And as we talk about, right, the superworker, what does that look like? So the goal of AI unleashing human potential, tying those things together, it's not just about cutting costs. And I love what Alessandro said a little bit ago. He's like, do you sharpen the axe and do it in half the time, or do you just start hacking away and take, a lot longer and not as efficient? So I love that idea of AI can help enhance human potential as opposed to just thinking about cutting costs. So let's talk a little bit about that. What does that mindset look like, the super worker, and putting together a different way to approach the conversation?
Yeah, the super worker concept is something that we introduced last year, and it's certainly something that every organization wants to hear about, because we talk about the AI transformation in HR, but then also outside of HR with every conversation that we have. And so what we mean by super worker is actually a very powerful and very positive concept. There's two ways to think about AI transformation. One way to think about it is it's all about AI replacing humans. So like basically AI can do the work that humans do, and then you need less people, which is kind of the slashing and burning, kind of whittling away some of the value that the organization might provide to the customers and to the market, and just doing less basically with doing maybe more with less, or just doing needing less resources. That's kind of the non-super worker concept of thinking about AI, right? You could say, well, I have 10 marketing people, and now I use AI for marketing automation and all of that. Now I only need 7 marketing people, and you just kind of let go of 3 people. Or there's the super worker concept, where you're saying, well, AI and humans are actually not good at the same things. AI is good at much better than people at certain things, and people are much better than AI at certain other things. And so how about powering every employee in the organization, from the front line to mid-level managers, all the way to executives, to do 10 times more and to get 10 times more value for the organization? So rather than saying, we now lead only 7 marketing people, how about you use these 10 marketing people, you provide them with AI, and now you can broaden your reach and you can grow much faster. So that kind of growth mindset, rather than the productivity and slashing and burning mindset, is what we mean by super worker. And every organization actually already has super workers. There's many people that experiment with AI, that use AI to get rid of the work maybe that they don't love to do, and do more of the work that they love to do. As a matter of fact, for example, in our organization, as soon as AI came on board, we have somebody who is a graphic designer, and he lays out our research reports and all of that. And immediately, and he's a fairly early career young person, very creative and all of that. But as soon as AI came on board, he used an AI agent to basically help him with doing layouts and PDFs and all of that, the stuff that is not all that exciting. And now he can focus much more on like creative graphics and all of that. Or our editorial team now uses AI video tools, for example, to create new videos rather than just doing kind of laid out reports. All of those are examples of super workers already existing in the organization. And we in HR can actually power those super workers. And what we found is the highest performing organizations, these pace setter organizations, actually tap and release the energy of all of these super workers in the organization, and power them to take the organization forward in new ways, to grow more, to have more talent, and to have more customers and more business outcomes.
Yeah, because I think when you put those things together, right? Like when I think about using AI in a lot of the things that I do, it actually forces me to be more creative, right? It enhances that maximizer, right? Like it starts and then you get to make it better. It makes your life so much easier when you can put those pieces together, and then you're focusing on that human potential. And I love that, right? That's exactly what we're talking about as we think about what's happening in HR. So let's talk about HR and let's talk about talent. So you talk about pace setters. So first, can you define what you think what you define pace setter as? And then let's talk about investing in efficiency and the super worker. How does that translate to productivity, but also enhancement of the human potential?
Yeah, that's perfect. So as part of the Global Workforce Intelligence Project, where we looked at all these different industries, we also identified that in each of these industries, there's 5 to 10% of companies that are the industry leaders. They are not just, they're leading in all categories. So they're leading in customer satisfaction, they're leading in financial performance, they're also leading in innovating in their industry, but they're also leading in people factors. So basically, they have a better workplace, they have more engaged employees, they have kind of a supportive culture, all of those kind of things. They are more systemic HR organization, what we call them, so a much more integrated HR organization. So we identified who these pace setters are in each of these industries. So we know basically in each of the industries, we know in healthcare who are some of these pace setters. We know it in insurance, on and on and on. We know who these pace setters are. And what we did, and as part of this pace set, the GWI and pace setter research, is really look in the data, in all of this skills data and all of these talent data sets, to say, what are they doing differently in terms of AI transformation? So not based, again, it's all data-based, it's all data informed. We couldn't do any of this, by the way, without AI too, because it's very hard to digest all of these themes without AI, because there's so many data points, like billions of data points basically coming in. So we identified what are they doing differently in the AI transformation. And one of the things that we saw there, or maybe the overarching theme that we saw, what these pace setter organizations are doing differently, they're not just focusing on skills depth or skills availability, but what we call skills velocity. So skills velocity is a really important concept, because skills are changing so quickly now because of the AI transformation, because every industry is changing and transforming. And so these pace setter organization, in an overarching theme, basically what they're doing differently is they're focusing on how quickly they enable people to move to different skills and to learn new skills and to move people around in kind of a human-centered, people-centered way, as you said, to put them on the most important initiatives and projects in the organization based on these new skills. So basically, that skills velocity was overarching to solving the nursing shortage in healthcare, for example, to solving the R&D, kind of speed of R&D in pharmaceutical, or whatever we identified as the business problems, the overarching business problems in each of these industries. So that was kind of a common theme that they had all around them. And it really relates to the AI transformation, because AI, of course, changes the skills that we need and that we have in the organization in a significant way.
Yeah, skills velocity is so interesting when you think about it that way, right? Like, how do we get folks empowered, enabled, moving more quickly, and not just by the skills that they have in a list or something that they've already done, but what is their potential? What are the things that they could do, right? Those rising skills, those waning skills.
Exactly.
How are we continuing to empower folks to continue on that velocity track, to move up the efficiency ladder, as opposed to feeling like, oh, I'm not really engaged, I don't really love this, so nobody's really paying attention to the things that I want to do as well as the things that I've already done. Love it.
Exactly.
Love it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about workflows. Let's talk about roles. Let's talk about how that changes when we think about redesigning work. So you talk about, let me see, productivity-based work redesign. I want to make sure I say it right.
Yeah.
So talk about what that looks like. That is that rethinking workflows, roles, outlining the stages of AI adoption and what that does. So let's talk about that. And then I want to talk about what may get in the way for that moving as quickly as we might like.
Yeah, when we think about the AI transformation overall, not just in HR, but in organizations, and the HR, of course, plays a significant role in all of that, we see organizations be at one of 4 stages of this AI transformation. Now, the first one, basically, is just you're using AI assistants just to make your job a little bit better and easier. So you might use a Copilot or something like that, or ChatGPT, or whatever you're going to use to maybe write a little bit better emails or draft better communication, or maybe improve your slide content, whatever you do, basically. But it's still your job is still your job, and you just do things a little bit faster. And I think many organizations are still at that stage. Every time we talk about that, people say, yeah, we're in that stage. We give the Copilot or some other tool to all of our employees, and they can use it, but there's not a lot of direction on how to use it. So you might have maybe 3 or 2% of employees who act like super workers, and they have really taken the AI tools and significantly changed how they do their work. But most others have maybe started experimenting a little bit, or just using it in some of these daily workflows without a lot of change to the jobs and the work. So that's kind of stage one of this AI transformation. You use the AI assistants. No work redesign. Your job is still your job. And then you go to where you significantly use AI to automate some parts of your job. So, for example, you might use AI if you're a recruiter, to automate scheduling of interviews, right? That's a really kind of time-consuming thing. And AI could take this task from you, and you don't have to schedule the interviews anymore. So there's a whole task that you don't need to do anymore. But your job is still your job. And if you're a recruiter, for example, then you have more time maybe to have conversations with candidates or with hiring managers. But your job is still your same job. So it's still like not a huge impact, and still bottom-up kind of driven only. So you give the tools to employees, and the employees then maybe reduce, like, for example, use AI agents. So it's not just assistants, but maybe agents that do kind of transact things in the process as well. So that's stage 2. Many organizations are maybe between stage 1 and stage 2. Yeah, exactly. Stage 1.5. A lot of organizations say that. But we see that there's stage 3 and stage 4, where there's not a lot of organizations there yet, but we see this coming. So stage 3 would be these multifunctional, cross-functional agents that pull different parts of the organization together. So for example, you could have an agent that doesn't just do interview scheduling in the recruiting side, but that also connects with the learning agent to say, maybe we need to not just hire from the outside, but we also need to train people from the inside in order to fill a certain skills need in the organization. And that happens, of course, in marketing and sales and operations too. I'm just bringing the examples of HR. So that requires people to think outside of their job. And usually people can't really do that, right? Because you don't really know what other teams and what other groups are doing. So we need to do a little bit more top-down, productivity-based work redesign to think about what is the job of a recruiter, for example, in this new world? What is the job of an instructional designer in the new kind of learning design paradigm, where we have content being created really quickly and kind of tested really quickly? So this gets to the kind of productivity-based job and work redesign, where we in HR can play a big role. But the productivity gain is also going to be much higher, because then we have different jobs, higher order jobs. So very quickly, you could think about a recruiter becoming much more a talent advisor, a career advisor, because they could talk much more with internal candidates, with hiring managers, work on strategic workforce planning, all these higher order things that basically you don't want the AI to do, but you can have a recruiter, for example, do. And stage 4 is where you have fully autonomous agents that basically the person only oversees, and they do kind of the orchestration of all of this. They do the kind of the business needs analysis and all of that. The roles change significantly, and the productivity increase is much higher there as well.
Well, yeah, and we think about that, right? Work looks significantly different because we're currently organized into, spots on an org chart, and we have a job title, and we have a description.
Yes.
When you start leading with the work, and that was what the previous conversation, right, Nicole and Alessandra were talking about, when you lead with outcomes, what do we need to accomplish? Then the work changes, because you're focused on what actually the outcome is, as opposed to what does my job title say. So there's a lot of shifting that has to happen. And I can see why there's a lot of companies who aren't there yet, because it's significant to say we may start supervising AI agents or workflows as opposed to supervising people. And I think in all of that, before we talk about what the barrier is to getting to that next level, I think in all of that, we have to be clear about what work belongs with AI and what work belongs with the human. There's always going to be a space for humans. It's just going to look significantly different at stage 4 than it does at
Yes.
stage 1, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
what's the challenge to get to that stage 4? Like, I think there's a lot of things that I can probably come up with off the top of my head, but what causes folks to not get to that level 4 maybe as quickly as some other folks might like?
Yeah, it's not really a technology thing because the technologies exist already, right? There's
Right.
all these multifunctional, like cross-functional autonomous agents already out there. So it's not about the technology availability. It's really a problem of people, culture, and organization and change adoption. So change agility, how quickly
The
can we adopt
mindset.
these things, right? A
Yeah.
mindset shift. How can we, I mean, people are intimidated. I was just doing a workshop yesterday with one of our clients, and there were senior HR leaders basically, and they all said, well, honestly, I haven't gone to the AI yet. We have all these AI tools, but I don't dare go there. Because, and there were 2 of them in this team of 10 or something. They said, yes, absolutely, I know how to do this. And then we asked others, and we said, what gets in the way? And it's your general like change adoption process, right?
Yeah.
People are intimidated. They don't know how to use it. They think they're going to break it. I'm like, you're not going to break these AI tools. Just try it out. But it's your change adoption curve and your culture. That's what's in the middle of that, which is exciting because it really amplifies the role that we have in HR to support all of this, because that's what we do well, right? It's not an IT thing. It's really a change culture, people, prioritization kind of exercise that we need to help the organization through.
Yeah, and moving from fear to curiosity, right? Like, how do we take maybe those little steps, giving folks a guided tour, like, hey, let's go in and play around with it. And if you have questions, somebody's here to help, right? And as you get more confident, you become less afraid of it, right? Because right now we're asking people to do things they don't understand, to use technology they don't really understand.
That's right.
And it is a little overwhelming. But if we do it in bite-sized chunks and learn as we go and develop that curiosity, shifting that mindset in the organization to a learning culture as opposed to a culture of fear or I don't want to be an early adopter. That's a little bit too much for me. That makes a big difference. So, okay, we're running out of time here. So I've got a question here that I want to, maybe we'll wrap with this one. So for folks who want to start doing this, right? Maybe they're at level 1, maybe they're not even at level 1, maybe they're 2 and having a hard time switching to 3. For folks who want to start applying these principles, what is a step that you would recommend that they should take to start building the Superworker organization? What's 1 or 2 things that folks should start thinking about and that they could actually do?
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest shifts is the mindset shift. So thinking about AI not as just a cost cutting, but a growth opportunity, right? So it's not, AI is not here. I think if you use it well, and that's kind of the super worker mindset, just don't think about it as a cost cutting exercise, because cost cutting always spirals down and you cut more and more and more and more until you have nothing left. But think about it, how it can amplify the growth of your organization. How can you do more? New markets, new products, new opportunities, not do less and cut on that, but amplify what humans can do. And that applies organizationally and also individually. How can I use these tools that I already have to do more of the stuff that I like to do and less of the stuff that I don't like to do, and just try it out and experiment and kind of collaborate around it. So I think that the biggest thing is shift that mindset and also highlight and lead that mindset shift in your organization as well.
Right. Find those early adopters, get them trying things, poke a little bit and see what happens, right? I love the idea of you can't break it. It might not react the way you want it to, but it's not going to break.
It's not going to
try it. Get the right
Exactly.
people in to have those conversations and say, oh, okay, we don't want to do that because we go down a path that isn't as productive or efficient, right? So getting people in that try it, test it out, right? Maybe it's kind of like the idea of a food you don't like, but hey, I haven't tried this in a while, or let me try something new,
Exactly.
and see where you go. I love that. Okay, we are out of time. Kathy, thanks so much. Our conversations always go longer than we have time for, but really appreciate you sharing a little bit more about the Superworker and how does that make us more productive and efficient.
Thanks so much, Rebecca, for